Hello, Gene Schwimmer here. Welcome to today's vlog. Today we're going to talk about politics, which I don't think will surprise anybody who's been watching my vlogs for a while, or even just for a very little while, because I talk about politics a lot. I do talk about world events, current events, but I do talk a lot about politics because, well, this is an election year. That's one reason right there. I am going to do something a little different today, but before I get to the main subject, I just want to share a couple of polls. The first one from Rasmussen. Before I give you the numbers, let me just briefly recap what I say just about every time I mention Rasmussen, because I like to tell everybody why this is really my go-to poll. Reason number one is that unlike other polls, Rasmussen does a 3-day moving average. So it's not just one day's results. Rasmussen polls 5 times a week, Monday through Friday. Then they average 3 days of polling. In other words, they drop off the poll from 3 days ago and they add a new one to the end, and then they divide by 3 if you remember your elementary school math, and they come up with a new number every day. What that does is that smooths out the numbers, because you can get quite a jump from one day to the next if you just use one day's polling. So that's one reason I like them. The other reason is that they poll likely voters instead of registered voters or all adults. And finally, they use a robot voice, a mechanical voice, so the person being polled cannot be influenced one way or the other by the possible change of a tone of voice of a questioner. That's why I like the Rasmussen poll. Today's poll, August 20th, which is the day I'm recording this video, the day before you're looking at it, here is the approval for Donald Trump, 51%. So he's over 50% today anyhow, and if he's at 51%, remember it's an average, so that means that he has to have been, well, either he was at 51% 3 days in a row, which I doubt because of what yesterday's number was, or he's above 51% one of the 3 days. So we'll see what happens going forward. Now, his record since the Rasmussen poll has been done on his approval was 52%. So if he exceeds that, that will be significant. I haven't been updating you all every day when he's in the mid to upper 40s, because that's usually where he's been. There's no news there. But now he's at 51. That's news. And if he's at 52 or above 52, that's going to be even more news. But this next poll is from a group called the Trafalgar Group. They are, just to be, full disclosure, they are a Republican polling organization, but they have been accurate in past elections. So their polling is very good, but of course you're welcome to take it with a grain of salt, the number I'm going to give you, because they are a Republican polling firm. So I wanted to give you that full disclosure, and then you use your own judgment. But I always like to give full information. I don't like to hide anything to make things seem more favorable or unfavorable than they are. More favorable to my side, full disclosure, I'm a conservative, or unfavorable to my liberal friends. I do try. I am human. That's why I tell everybody that I am a conservative, and I wish journalists would do the same thing. They claim to be objective, but we're all human, so I let everybody know. So you can always weigh my political leanings with whatever I tell you. So this is a number. What's interesting about it is it's Minnesota, Trump versus Biden. Trump came pretty close to carrying Minnesota in 2016. He just missed by a little bit, but that is a traditionally blue state. The new number here, though, shows 46.9% Biden, 46.5% Trump. That is a statistical tie. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens in the election in November. If Trump can carry Minnesota, well, if he does that on election night, that probably points to a pretty good night for him, because he would probably win. I don't see him, and I'm not an expert, but I do not see him carrying Minnesota and losing Ohio or Pennsylvania. So I had to share that because that is a significant development. We'll see what happens going forward. Oh, I could also mention really quickly the betting sites. The average of betting sites that a website called realclearpolitics.com, which I recommend everybody visit, they do an average of the betting sites. The betting sites had a 24-point gap between Biden and Trump in Biden's favor. That is now down to 14 today. For the last 2 or 3 weeks, the gap has been narrowing, so I want to let you know that. Now, this is, I have one more item I have to throw in. I used to live in New York. You know this from my vlogs if you've been watching my vlogs. I lived in New York for 40 years until I moved to Tennessee about 1.5 years ago. I like to keep up with what's going on back in New York because I love the city. I hate to see what's happening to it, and this headline is just further evidence of what's happening to it, which is people like me leaving the city. But this really shocked me. Movers in New York City are so busy, they're turning people away. That tells you that there are a lot of people leaving New York because there are a lot of movers in New York City. If they are so jammed up with orders that they are having to turn people away, that really does say something, because it's not like moving away temporarily. If you're calling a moving company, that means you're moving. That means you're probably not coming back. I worry about the city. I really do, because that's a disturbing trend. Now on to today's subject, which is my attempt to be fair. As I said earlier, I am a conservative. I give my views, which are conservative, but I try to be fair to the other side, and that's what I'm going to do today, a sort of counterpoint, as you saw in the title, 6 reasons to vote Democrat in November. I'm going to give you 6 reasons to vote Democrat in November, and this is courtesy of a very good artist. I mean, the writing is good too, what he wrote, but an artist, writer, cartoonist. So this is with illustrations, 6 reasons to vote Democrat in November. Here we go, right down the list. Number 1, I like how Democrat-run cities like New York City, Chicago, Portland, Minneapolis, and Seattle have devolved into violent hellholes, and I want these peaceful protests in my town too. Reason number 2, I especially like how New York City's communist Democrat mayor has driven 1 million people out of the city by supporting open crime and violence. I want more crime and more felons on the street. I guess some people don't. I just read you that headline about the movers having to turn people away. So I guess there are some people that don't want more crime and more felons on the street. Reason number 3, I like how Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and the rest of the Democrat Party won't denounce Antifa, a wonderful group focused on nonviolent protests. I want Antifa in my cul-de-sac too. Reason number 4, I really like how Black Lives Matter is a communist front group that recently chanted "Kill the Jews" in a Jewish neighborhood in California. I have to support communist anti-Semites because BLM, that's Black Lives Matter. Reason number 5, because I trust the media and their reporting on Russia collusion, Ukraine collusion, and a myriad of other scandals that indict the Orange Man. That would be Donald Trump, the Orange Man. Orange Man bad. I love the media because they win Pulitzer Prizes. And finally, reason number 6, I loved ISIS. I loved the slave trade in Libya. I loved giving Iran nukes while they shouted death to America and captured our sailors. And I loved how China ripped us off blind while paying off both of America's political parties. It's a slam dunk case for the Democrats, don't you think? That's it, 6 reasons. And before I forget, what you just saw, that is courtesy of Doug Ross. Doug Ross created what you just saw. Very good work, Doug Ross, and thank you very much for sharing with me and allowing me to share with all of you 6 reasons to vote Democrat in November. And now let me end with a reason to, well, what I just gave you. That's a reason to give me a thumbs up if you like this video. Share it with anybody you think would also like the video. Got any comments? You can put them in the comments section below the video, as well as any questions, suggestions for future topics. And you could subscribe. I love getting subscribers, so subscribe, subscribe, subscribe. And finally, most of all, whether you subscribe or not, come back and see me again. I look forward to seeing all of you again. And until I do see all of you again, bye.